Sooner or later, guitar players tend to grow tired of basic things like triad, major and minor chords, and for most of them the most logical next step is to hop onto YouTube and hop onto the internet and learn super complex jazz chords, diminished voicings and whatnot, and then end up with a lot of chords they can barely use and super confused. And in order to help you prevent that, today I'm going to give you a framework that will help you to not only build your own chords from scales, but also build them in a way that they actually connect with each other and that you end up with something that you can improvise and play with. We're going to go through all the different tricks in several steps, and in the end I'm going to mix them all together and show you how I did what I just did here in the beginning. Let's go. Now the first trick you can use is by just simply stacking notes on top of each other. So we're gonna take our E minor pentatonic in this case, because the open strings lean very nicely into this, and we're just gonna grab chunks of the pentatonic and combine it and see what happens. You can just go from right to left, for instance, and start with diads, i.e. double stops. Going through them in sequence, for instance. And double stops can sound really nice and really get a very bluesy sound, and few people would think of them as chords even, but in my philosophy chords are just notes happening at the same time. And here, for instance, I did something else, which is not combining neighboring strings, but combining strings that have one in between. All of these are diads. So we're gonna check this trick out numerically, going from 2 upwards. And the next one, of course, with that would be 3. Now, 3, the first thing you probably think is the basic triads. And of course, an E minor pentatonic has an E minor triad in there. Basic E minor chord, really. But there's another one in there as well, which is our G major. So we have like the minor key and the parallel major key. If those mean nothing to you, you can think of a minor chord in the root and a major key on the third being the first note in the scale. And apart from those, everything else is sus chords. Let's take a look at this one, for instance. And really, even if the theory I'm talking about with the chord names and everything does not really mean anything to you, don't worry about that. Play the chords in small loops of 2, maximum 4 voicings, listen and feel them, and then you will know them in their essence. Let's take, for instance, this one here. Just mix it with an E minor. And already, I tap in way more interesting colors than just playing the basic howler chords. What I could also try, for instance, is just to stack sides of the chords again. Here, G, B, and E, for instance. So with 3 notes, you can already stack many of them. And I mixed in some with 4 notes, which is where we go next. Of course, you can also go bigger than that as well. You can mix 4 neighboring notes. Especially like this one, like first fret on the E string and then 2, 2, 2, up to the G. And so on and so forth. So what we really do here is take notes of the pentatonic and piece them on top of each other. And the really great thing about a pentatonic is it doesn't contain any semitone steps, like a typical, or in case of E minor, diatonic scale. And therefore you never get this clash between, let's say, semitones, like you have here, for instance, or here. You never really get those. Of course, you can produce less energy, but it creates this nice open pentatonic plane that you can venture into. And don't think that you only have to take neighboring notes. I'm just starting simple with cutting out little blocks of the scale, if you will. But you also can go all over the shape and just combine notes, let's say from both E strings and one in between. Now we take both E strings, first fret, and the note A from the G string. If now you're thinking, okay, but what about the open strings? Shouldn't I mute them? Here comes something many people, including myself, don't realize for way too long. Take a look. E minor pentatonic. And I'm gonna over-exaggerate by fretting the open string so you hopefully understand what I mean. This is weird. notice something? The open strings of the guitar are the notes of the E minor pentatonic, and that means I can just throw them in there as I please while I fret whatever I want, which is fun. Let's take a listen, for instance. So I really don't even have to think about harmony here anymore. I can just walk the safe plane of the pentatonic and mixing the open strings as I go, combining all kinds of beautiful shapes that way. And that works, of course, in every key, in every position, especially if I go up to the key of A minor, which together with E minor is the most used pentatonic positions there are. If I just go here, fret the E string with my thumb and bar some notes here, Jimmy style for instance, then I can use my other fingers to just hammer and add notes of the pentatonic as I want. And it doesn't really matter if you see this as lead or rhythm guitar playing, it really depends on the context. If you support the basic bass line and the basic groove like that, then it would probably count more as a rhythm part because it supports the basic harmony. If you go all over the place, then of course it would count more as a solo. But don't think of these boxes. You know, the whole point here is we use boxes to break out of them, in this case by creating new chords. And ideally you just break this barrier between chord and melody down a bit more, because as you can see right now, melodies breed chords, and as you will see in my next video, chords breed melodies. And as you probably know from my videos right now, I like to really start off with stuff like that, instinctive and exploring, and then bring in the theory to just point at all the blind spots, so to speak. And the next trick I want to give you is using the pentatonic to upgrade the tonic. This was not supposed to rhyme, but it does anyways. We're going to take our E minor chord. Now you wonder, what the heck's a tonic, Clem? Basically, if you have an E minor pentatonic with the root notes E, then the chord building from those notes on the root notes is your tonal center. In this case, E minor. And you can just take notes from the pentatonic and just throw it onto the E chord, and you will never go wrong. Let's take a listen. I'm gonna go for every single one of them. And that way, expand your E chord with colors from the pentatonic scale. E minor 7, E sus4, E sus4, 7. Oh, E 7 sus4 of course. Talking and playing guitar. Another way you can think of that, for instance, is to flip the script, because right now I'm just operating out of a basic power chord in the bass. But next secret knowledge, we have the notes of the E minor chord living on the top 3 strings of the guitar. Again, our open strings already outline harmonies, utilize them, and you will be able to do amazing stuff with it. And if we put this on top, I can now use the pentatonic to bring the melody into the bass. Of course, I'm improvising now, but basically the concept is that we can take the tonic and decorate it with the pentatonic, for instance. And now we come to the real fun part of this video. Because we can not only do this to the tonic, we can do this to every single chord of the E minor key in that case. And what happens that way, in sequential order, is that we end up following, of course, the diatonic scale here, with an E minor, F sharp half diminished, G major, A minor, B minor, 7 in this case, easier to fret, C, D, and E. And now here comes the real fun part. I can take the pentatonic and just throw notes on top of every single chord in there. Some sounds will be very open and beautiful, some sounds will be a bit weirder, and if you combine in the right way, then we can create some real magic here. So let's take a listen. This trick we already know. What happens, for instance, if I put some notes here on top? And half diminished one. Now in the G major, of course, it's pretty straightforward. Now if we go to the A minor, we can build an A minor 7. And especially as we ascend I higher up, also added the bass. With the B minor 7, I can add the third frets from the pentatonic on top. Get a very tension-lasting, is that a word? Full of tension built minor 7 voicing. Now for the C major, of course, stuff gets way more easier. One might even say friendly. And so does it for the D major. If you wondered where the semitone step I just sneaked in here with my thumb came from, pentatonic note, chord tone. Because by mixing pentatonics and chord tones with each other, we are going to open up the realm of diatonics naturally. And I'm gonna get to that in a bit because I'm going to make a video solely dedicated to that trick in part 2 of this series. But basically, I can take melodies for the pentatonic scale and shove it onto every single chord. Of this chord. And that's, as I said before, one of the great things my teacher taught me, to break down the barrier between harmony and melody and thus reinforcing it. That's the beauty really behind it, because you get stronger melodies if you see them as colors applied to chords, and you get stronger chords if you see them as colors applied to melody. And the pentatonic is the perfect framework for doing that. And basically, what I've just been doing here right now is to take our same old pentatonic scale and just experiment by taking the chords from a key, which either you can learn by heart, or you can learn from a guitar teacher, or you can look online for the circle of fifths. There are many ways you can find this information, or you just start simple with a few chords, or you rewatch this video, take some chords from the key and apply the scale on top. And just be boldly creative. You know, some stuff sounds better, some stuff sounds worse, some stuff is just abysmally difficult to fret, and you don't want to do it, that's fine. But you will discover more and more things you can use, expand your vocabulary, and become a more free and independent player. And by the way, if you want to become a more creative, independent player, I would like to invite you to my school community. The link is down here in the description. You can join for free, grab a lot of awesome resources, for instance my new course about Open Chord Mastery, where we will take a look at all the tricks I'm showing you here briefly and showcasing them in the YouTube videos, going through them in very much detail, with infographics, guitar profiles and whatnot, and most importantly, get to know some other guitar players who are on the same journey. I hang out there pretty much every day, and you can just throw some questions at me if some of the stuff in these videos is unclear for free. Would be great to have you on the inside. And with that one being said, let's wrap it up and mix it up in the final part of this video. With this array of possibilities, there are two ways you can branch out even further. One is called lingering chord tones, and the other one is called lingering melodies. Now, lingering chord tones basically means that I grab two notes on the top of the chords, let's say for instance these two guys, and just shove them on top of every single chord. Same concept again, the only difference being by these two notes being completely static, they glue together progressions a lot. Yes, chord progression warning for you metalheads out there. Put it on top of A minor, in this case A minor 7 because I just ran out of fingers. Or C. Most famous one of that being I'm gonna start now before I have to make a campfire in this flat. Basically, this song, Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, is a prime example of using this trick. By putting lingering chord notes on top, for instance, you can glue stuff together. Works in flipped around as well. For instance, if I just have a lingering bass note, or bass notes, let's say if I fret, no, bass note, singular, just note. Maybe see now the bass shifts slower than the melody on the top. The last trick I want to show you is how to take a lingering melody to glue chords together. E minor, go to G, then A, and B. And that's my favorite thing to do with the pentatonic. And it's something I haven't really understood for many years, but it was through listening to old funk R&B stuff, and especially to people like Jimi Hendrix, of course, that I really got to realize that the border between harmony and melody is so fluid, and if you know how to traverse between them, you can come up with way more interesting parts. And the basic materials I used here were the simple 5 notes of our E minor pentatonic. And this works in every key, of course. Especially if you improvise and talk at the same time, but basically you can also apply this here. And on the flip side, also here you can have a lingering note on the top. And I teach music theory to intermediate guitarists, and I did not think of theory right now, because personally I believe theory is like a map in a vast landscape. If you look at the map while walking around, you hit your head on a tree. Or in plain English, the theory helps me to establish a framework, but I always want to explore it while improvising, while using my gut feeling and coming up with stuff that feels right, because what's the point in playing what's correct by the rules if it doesn't feel right to you? So I want to give you these tricks so that you can just experiment freely and actually shift from the cerebral mind to the instinctive one by having a framework that's bulletproof. And believe me, the pentatonic is the most bulletproof framework for harmony I know. And if this philosophy about learning music and this process resonates with you, then you might be the perfect person for my school community, which you can join for free. You can grab a course about open chords, about making guitar playing a daily habit, basically giving you tools that you can use to get creative and become an independent player there for free. And you can become my student as well and meet a lot of other creative guitar players. So the link is down here and probably somewhere else also in these videos. Feel free to join. Have a wonderful week and see you soon.